Namaste, Vanikam, and welcome to this terrible show called Cyrus Says, but not so bad today. Today, great guest. I say it every day, but today again, great guest. And the great guest is a creative person, very interesting man. I'll give you a hint, he's a bit of a family man. Aha, stay where you are. We'll talk about him in a second. First, I want to address Scott Morrison. Scott Morrison is a fan of the show. He's also the Prime Minister of Australia. He irritated me by coming on very hard on David Warner, Cameron Bancroft, and Steve Smith, my favorite cricketer, for no reason, for scuffing up the ball. Something we do in the subcontinent since 1959. So I don't know what the big deal was. The Aussies discovered it later, and so they are punished for it. Anyway, after doing that, now he's attacked Djokovic, my favorite tennis player, which has upset me too much. Tried to stop him from playing. Why? Because he's anti-vax and may have done some jugaad when it comes to putting together, as he's king of Serbia, a certificate saying that he had COVID in December and hence he has antibodies and hence he can't have the vaccine at this present time in his life. Be that as it may, officially he gave the right documents, so there should have been no problem. And finally, the court, thank God for courts in democratic worlds, which may or may not exist here. Thank God for them. He's got off and he will play the Australian Open. Hopefully, nothing else will happen and come in his way. But these politicians, the Victoria Prime Minister, Home Minister, or rather Health Minister, and Scott Morrison, the Prime Minister of Australia, has been very bad. I'm going to ask you one question, Scott Morrison. I know you're a fan of the show. I know you watch every single podcast. I will ask you one question alone. Are you telling me not one influential figure in the history of Australia since 2020, when this pandemic started till now, not one person has entered your border through some gochi? Not one. Joe Biden's uncle, Narendra Modi's cousin, the Jinping's 15 friends and family. I mean, there's got to be someone. So let's not lie to ourselves. Always a way to bend the rules a little bit for somebody special. So in this case, you should have bent it for the world's greatest tennis player, arguably the world's greatest tennis player ever, Novak Djokovic, who wastes time spelling his name with a D that is not pronounced, like Rithik's name, which has an H, which is not pronounced, like Rishi's name, the guy who does our sound with has an H, which is not pronounced. Now I vented enough. It's time to enter the life of my guest. Lovely man. His name, of course, a little confusing for people like me from South Mumbai, morons that we are, is Suparn Verma. Let's welcome Suparn Verma, who is one of the leading writers in the country today, as well as a director, as well. Let's just call him a creative person, I think, because he wears many hats, not to cover the loss of
Ball
a
pit.
little. Yes, yes, I shouldn't have gone there right in the beginning, taking a shot at the guest for no reason. Not that I'm a beauty. But Suparn, the first question I have is, I grew up with two girls called Suparna. And every time I see Suparn, it's almost like I think of them a lot. Both of them are very pretty, by the way. And now, having seen you, I got to say my life has changed.
You have two Anmol Ratans, but I grew up with Supandi. You just grew up with Suparna. So you know what? I don't, kind of grudge you Suparnas. But
Well,
the fun part is this: I'm right now working with Rana Dugapatti, and he owns Tinkle and Amar Chitrakatha. So the
oh, you
first thing you
also.
do when you enter his office is Shikari Shambhu and Supandi right there.
Wow. Amazing. That means you're not that, you sound a little younger than me, and we discussed offline that we met many years ago. We'll come to that. But obviously, you are from our, let's say, our generation, which read comics for sure. But I think we were more in, just before that, before Shambhu and all these guys, there was Bahadur. I don't know if you remember that. There was the
Bahadur, Mandrake,
Mandrake.
Phantom,
Yes,
Dark,
yes,
and
yes.
if you remember, there's also AXA.
Axa was a beach as far as I was growing up.
No, no, AXA, AXA the Barbarian. So basically, in those
You
days,
mean Conan was
AXA,
preempted by Axa?
no, no. So, okay, so AXA was the female version of Conan in a way, who was always wearing this really toned bikini kind of top,
Which is the way a
bras
barbarian should
in a
dress,
jungle.
Sopan Verma.
Should dress,
Yes,
right?
yes,
Exactly.
yes, yes.
And she was hot as hell. So there's Modesty Blaze and AXA, by the
Modesty
way.
Blaze,
Look
I
them up.
remember. Modesty
Yeah,
Blaze, I remember very clearly. Boss, now
yeah.
you're just bullying me because your memory is better than mine. But obviously, I think as my generation died, one or two new names came up. Because
So
Axa, I
as you
would have
can see
remembered.
behind me, I'm a fanboy, right? So
Huh, huh. What's there? I can't see. You'll have to bring it closer. At this point, Subarn has pointed at something and the government has clamped down on him and we've lost him. I don't know if it's his Wi Fi or what happened, but sadly, he's just a memory. All we have are those comics. So please, the rest of the episode, we're going to find Tinkle and Twinkle comics and read them to you because Saparn, unfortunately, one of our leading creative heads, has fallen. Saparn, I'll give you 10 seconds to come back. In the meantime, Silvery has seen the panic. But this is the
Hello.
lovely thing about doing a show live. There's just nothing we can do but live with the moment.
Yeah,
We,
correct.
we have the final picture of one of our great writers. This is a Salman
Yeah,
Rushdie-esque moment. He may have crossed the line while writing Family Man or one of his other later ventures, and for that he will
yeah,
pay. But we will get him back at some point, I'm sure, sooner or later.
sure. Yeah.
Big
I
names.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
Sabir,
didn't
go on.
know Rana Daggubati owned Tinkle. That
No, no, no,
is
no, no.
something.
I think we need to clarify this. He must have
Yeah,
bought it. I don't think it's like
so bought
something
it.
that's, yeah, he must, you know
Okay,
how,
huh?
bro, I want to do this myself. If I ever become a big star with lots of money, there are a lot of things in my childhood. I would buy Rasna. I love Rasna.
Yeah,
Not the
correct.
woman Rasna, but Suparn has come back. Suparn,
I've come back. Yeah. Ha.
Suparn, Suparn man. Sorry, Baba. The Wi-Fi
Superman.
either
Ha.
yours, mine, or yeah, it went out. And we were just discussing this because we had this empty moment. Rana Dugabadi owns it in the sense he bought it, right? Because it was owned by other people when I was a young man.
Yeah. So he bought it. He
My
bought
family, maybe,
Amachitrakatha and
huh?
Tinkle. In fact,
Yeah.
he's making Amachitrakatha comics into this animated series with Applause currently as we speak. He's a great businessman as well.
Oh, we went to do some work with Applause. They threw us out. I remember recently. No, they didn't, but they sent us Diwali greetings. So it couldn't have been that bad. Then somebody
Yeah, you
sends you
should
festive
just
greetings, that means you're on their list, right?
Samir Nair is a fantastic man. You should chat with him on Twitter first and then meet him so he'll never throw you out. Nobody will throw you out regardless, but huh,
That's true.
unless you
That's
do a
true.
bakra on them.
If
So yeah.
if you entertain them on Twitter, yeah, there's a lot of respect because nobody wants to talk
Yeah.
after some time. Okay, sorry. Let's get back to your story. So you were saying you were pointing at the showcase and said, "I'm a fanboy." And what was? And that's when we froze. That was the point where
Yeah.
Amitabh Bachchan was injured in Coolie. Well, what were you pointing
Yeah,
at?
exactly. Well, I was pointing at all the shitload of comic books that I have behind my
Could you?
head here.
Is it
So
possible to
yeah.
pull one out? I just want to show people of today because I haven't seen a
So
Twinkle or Amar
there's no
Chitra
Tinkle
Katha
here,
for.
but also I'm Stephen King's number one fan. So I
Wow.
have the Dark Tower tattooed on my arm. That's a gunslinger of the
Yeah.
Dark Tower. And I have all of
Although there's
Stephen
another.
King's, including that
Wow.
Stephen King's entry when he came on the Simpsons show.
Right.
That's
Right.
the Simpson
Oh,
version of Stephen King. And there are
always the
first
best version. Yes.
editions,
Huh.
and there are signed books by him. And there is also Joe
Wow.
Hill, who's his son, who's one of the most brilliant writers that you'll meet today. And there's a
His
book
name.
called Lock and Key,
Okay.
which is
We
also a
we
show
used
on
to
Netflix. Yeah,
we used to play that game when we were young kids. But his name is Joe Hill. He doesn't have the same
Joe
surname.
Hill. Well, he changed his name because he didn't want to be recognized as his father's name and then get work. So,
Is his mother's first name Malabar?
no, his mother's first name is Tabitha.
Okay. Leave it.
I
You're
got
really.
it, but anyway, कोई बात नहीं
Yeah,
हाँ.
but
कोई बात नहीं. I'm gonna kill your
my worry
jokes,
is that you
Cyrus. I'm gonna
actually
kill
know her
your jokes.
name. It's not like you being facetious. You actually know
She
the
wrote
answer to
two
that.
books. She
There
wrote
you
two
go.
books. I have one of them, Small World.
I can't. I bow to
He
you. I'm in
also
the
has a
company of a
brother
true
called
nerd.
Oven King. Yeah, total nerd. So we can go for it. Huh?
You have completely outpunched me here. It's a TKO. There's no question. You are the comic book legend, and perhaps that's the reason why you are where you are today. Sometimes people don't. Do you remember growing up how people used to look down on comic books? I mean, our elders and people around us, reading comics, and I'm just thinking it must have played such a big role in your creativity.
Not really. So I used to sell all the raddi in my house and buy comic books from a raddi wala because they were. He used to run a mini library. So you would go inside wearing a baggy t-shirt and steal a few books while and return them obviously after some time because you would never notice. You was too busy being drunk. But yeah, so it was a good time. And yeah, they didn't look really kindly at comic books because they were like that books are more serious as compared to comics. But today that is a art form in itself, and I think our generation changed that.
Also, now I'm thinking back to what it was like. It's an undervalued point, which is you've got the prose and the writing, and you also got the visual and the artwork. You got it actually together. So in many ways, it's like the first film in your head.
It is
It's your
right.
first, yeah,
Yeah.
because it's a holistic in that sense. Where when we read the book, or if we heard something on radio or whatever, we heard it, or if we watched the movie in its entirety. But this was almost like it lets you imagine the movie that you would make from the hints you're getting from all this. I don't know. I think I've opened something very important. I need to get a PhD for this. I feel that comics have played a very important role in people. Of course,
Dr.
guys like you,
Cyrus Brocha.
and I'll use it like Dr. Vijay Mallya. The fact of the matter is, the people who use the doctorate, that honorary doctorate, those are the special few in the entire world who actually go put doctor on their name and walk around, and then all the chumchas have to say doctor. Come on, bro, let's talk. We'll talk about your life. Okay,
Go for it.
so but let's go a little bit in the beginning then, because Family Man will dominate it. I know you've got lots of upcoming projects, and obviously we can't talk about everything. But I love, for us, this show is all about discovering how a Suparn Verma became that. In the sense that, where were you as a young boy? How did you find yourself here? And then, of course, we'll try and get in all the great work you've done so far.
So you want me to give a Cyrus Brocha answer? I can give that
No,
also. I
no,
can
it's
give a
like,
normal
you remember
answer.
Amitabh Bachchan films from the 80s?
Of course,
I
I
grew up on
have
that.
seen
So
Sharabi 92 times and
there
I've
you go.
seen
So
Kranti
for
180
me,
times.
correct. So what
Which
I'm
is of
saying
course
is, you
Manoj
have to
Kumar,
go
but
back.
anyway, huh?
That's all right. That's fine. They merge after some time. But as long as you have the same opening where basically the kid is, the kid, he gets beaten up or whatever, and then he stands up for himself, and then in that one shot, the camera pulls out, and the shoes become Amitabh Bachchan's shoes from the simple feet of the kid, and then he's a towering presence. So let's go back to when you were that kid who may have been bullied and then stood up for yourself and fought back, and then the camera will pull out and it's your beautiful visage.
So that is when Bruce Lee happened in my life, where I kind of did lots of crunches and then basically took a bully's hand and I turned his fingers back. And I kept
Wow,
it back for about 40 minutes till his mother came, begged that, kind of leave him. And I said,
wow.
but if I leave him, he'll beat me to pulp. Then his brother came, who was a bigger bully, and said, leave it or I'll kill you. I said, now I'm never leaving it. Then, of course, they made mother promise, father promise, and they said, leave it. And yeah, that's how the last time I was bullied. That was, I think, it took me a lot of time. I was 12 when I stopped being bullied. But I stood up for
Wow,
myself. So Amitabh Bachchan
I'm
moment
still
happened there. Ta-da!
yeah, I'm still being bullied. So no Bachchan moment for me. But going back, even Bruce Lee was in comics. They had a Bruce Lee comic. I don't know if you ever saw that.
No,
Uh,
I've never seen a
just
Bruce Lee comic.
created like, although Bahadur to some extent would have been 20% Bruce Lee in terms of his fighting skills.
Bahadur
Right.
also had the
So
first live-in relationship in comic books with Bela.
Bella, what was that, man? You're right. But I never felt a sexual connotation to it. They were able to keep it on that line of Indian Sanskriti and Parampara and all that. What do you feel?
Yeah, वो साथ में रहते हैं, but कुछ करते नहीं, भाई बहन की तरह रहते हैं types.
वो तो सच है वो तो सच है what they're doing is give a glimpse into married life of the future. Yeah, these are great
But they never
writers,
had
bro.
kids,
They know.
right? So they didn't do anything. But
Yeah.
but Abid
Yeah.
Surti, I love Abid Surti. He created Bahadur. I think Bahadur was
Hmm.
fantastic. And his backstory, his first book was the Red Book, the Red Bricked House.
Sounds like Elton John. Huh.
Well,
What is the book about?
so well, the origin story is his father gets killed and he's raised by Lakhan Mukhia. He's raised by Sukhia, who's the cop, and Lakhan is there's Lakhan and Sukhia, right? There's Inspector Vishal also. Basically, and he grows up and he avenges his father's death in the first book, and then he starts
Wow.
training commandos and stuff. And then I think they had a second season of the comic books after about 20 comic books where he went to the city. So he lost his orange kurta and stuff, and he was wearing this, polo neck t-shirts and jeans and doing shit in the city. So yeah,
Which was fashion in the 80s, by the way. Don't look down on it. It was
no, it
big
was. I'm
stuff
still
40
wearing
years
it.
ago. There you go.
I was born in
Right.
the 80s. So yeah.
Did the book end with the lines one took a four, four took a one? My name is Lakhan. No, no,
That is
I don't think so.
1994, I think.
Forgive
But
me,
anyway,
sir. Alzheimer's. Who can remember when
Subhash
and where?
Ghai.
There you go. Was it?
Subhash the Ghai.
Is it? No, this is the N Chandra, na? Okay, let's not argue. You will
No,
know
no.
better.
N. Chandra is Tezab. So Ram
Yeah,
Lakhan is Subhash Ghai.
Ram Lakhan and Subhash Kai. Fair enough. Let's get back to you, bro. We haven't spoken a word about Suparn Verma, the man, the myth, the
Yeah.
legend. So what I want to know is there a point? Give us a point where you became the writer, or where was the creative road? Where did that start?
So here's the
You
thing.
know,
I wanted to be. So here's the thing. I was in love with this girl whose father was a detective in school, and
I can't believe it. I cannot believe it.
yeah.
I don't know anyone whose
I,
father was a detective. What do you
no,
mean?
mine was. So her father's detective, and I was
In,
reading
in
Hardy
in
Boys
the
in those
police
days.
force or private detective?
No, private detective. Can I
Hi.
drop the F bomb?
Wow. Yes.
Oh, great. So he was a fucking detective for fuck's sake. But anyway, coming to that, I was in the third standard, fourth standard, 2 years. I was deeply in love with her. And I was reading Hardy Boys at that point of time. And I had this great big thing in my head.
Frank
I
and
lost my
Joe
father.
Hardy.
Frank and Joe Hardy and Iola was Joe's
Huh.
girlfriend, and Chet was their best friend. And Iola died in the second book of case Hardy Boys case files, by the way.
Oh
Anyway,
God.
you didn't know that?
Stop showing off. You make me feel like a midget. Sorry,
But the
apologize to
best one
anyone
was
who.
but the best was Three Investigators, which are like fantastic. But anyway, coming back here,
I remember that
Alfred,
also. I remember that also.
yeah, Alfred
Yeah.
Hitchcock, Three
Huh.
Investigators. Yeah.
Huh,
Anyway,
huh, huh.
so then at some point of time, I realized it is not happening. And the fifth standard, I decided I want to be a hero. And I used to kind of write plays and shit like that in my society because you had societies those days, right? 8 buildings with a nice
We
ground
still have we
and
still have
Ganpati.
societies.
Yeah,
Before.
still have
Oh yeah. Well,
societies.
yes,
Now they're
yes, yes.
different. Now
You're
they're
right.
different societies, but so
That was the birth of that. Yeah.
so
Huh.
I used to play this drunken character in every fancy dress competition for the longest time. Although in the first 3 4 years of my life, my mother dressed me up like a bride, and I got in touch with the feminine side, and I always lost. But the day I became a drunk, I started winning, and I didn't stop winning for a long time. But anyway, I used to write plays and shit like that, and then I think I got my first pimple when I was 14 years old. So I gave up the idea of being an actor. So now I do small bit roles in my own shit.
But
Yeah,
Suparn, one second, one second, stop there. I want to go back to mom. Now, what was
huh.
she thinking when she wanted to dress you up as a bride? Did she miss not having a daughter or something? What is the reason? Or she was trying to challenge you?
She
Like that, there's a country
she
song called
wanted
A Boy Named Sue.
she
The father
wanted
names
a
him
daughter.
Sue, so he becomes tough. Huh.
She wanted a daughter. Thankfully, she had one 4 years later, and she dressed her as a grape eventually, with lots of balloons stuck around her, and the people kept sticking pins in the balloons and
Suparn,
bursting the grapes.
I think the people are already texting. Is it possible to talk to his mother instead of him? She sounds far more interesting, man.
She's
You're like this
awesome.
comic book nerd. Your mom, your mom put you and your sister on the road to God knows what. One is a grape, one is an ape. It's amazing.
My
Yeah.
sister is Sukanya Varma, by the way, who reviews films for Rediff. So anyway, huh.
Wow. Oh, you're a
She's
Rediff
interviewed
family.
you. Yeah, full Rediff
You just
family. Yeah,
you just couldn't attack me all the time because of my
nepotism.
Alzheimer's.
Nepotism. My
Huh.
mother was with the Times of India, but anyway, she was a journalist as well. But yeah,
What is your mother's first name? Yeah,
Sudarshana
I'm closer
Dwivedi.
to.
She had
Yeah,
her own
I mean,
surname. She changed her
which
surname. She was born Dubey. She became Dwivedi. So her three
okay,
brothers, younger to her sisters and brothers, kind of took her surname. She changed
okay.
her name also. In fact, I think during the course of her life, when she fell in love with a poet in her head, and she called herself Nirja for I think a couple of years. Then she went back to Sudarshana. So that's my mother.
Hey, your
Anyway,
mom is
so
super
coming back to
interesting,
my
man.
story,
No,
she's
I want to
awesome.
not
Yeah.
talk about her mom, man. She fell in love with
Okay,
a
go for
poet in
it.
her head. This is a complete
Yeah.
one way traffic.
Not really. I
जो
fell in
मन
love with
में है
Stephen
वो
King and I tattooed him on my arm, right? So same
That's
thing.
different, brother.
Fanboy.
That's a little different. That's a little different. Yeah.
And this is permanent. She could change her name back from Nija to Sudarshana. I
That
can't.
that was a seasonal fling in the head, which
Yeah,
changed
in the head.
completely. So
Yeah.
okay, so obviously from what you're telling us, we're getting an idea that this is quite a crazy, in a nice way, family. But to get into the formality, Rediff obviously came at someone before that. When did
So
Suparn
I'll
know?
tell you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, I knew quite early in life I want to be a director and write movies and stuff like that. I didn't know how to. And while I was in college, I in fact wrote an episode of Khatta Meeta with Shafi Namdar and Farida Jalal. Shafi Namdar has since passed away, not because of what I wrote, but anyway. And I also acted
So
in that
that's.
episode.
I apologize. I didn't mean to laugh at that point. I laughed because okay, move on. Can't get out
Well,
of that. Yeah.
anyway, so yeah. Uh, then I was in my TYBA, we passed out, and I was best friends with Vivek Vaishnavi, whose father was the head of Z and mother was the head of DD at that time. And we didn't want to take
Wow.
his parents' help. We formed a production company. We were about 21. Yukta Creations, a name picked out of a, he picked up the Gita and said, choose a page. I said, how many pages does the Gita have? He said, this one has 962 pages. I said, okay, page for something, some page. He said, okay, which line? I said, okay, this line. He said, which word? I said, fourth word. And that's how Yukta Creations, our first company, was born. And this is just as MTV was being announced. It's literally those days, okay?
96.
And we were like 96, right? 95 actually. Because 96
Okay,
first
yeah,
Jan
that's
I
right.
joined.
96 I joined. 95
Yeah,
end it was announced.
because
Correct. You're
because
right.
that time we
You're
had
as usual. You're fucking
radio.
right. You're always right. You've been correcting me for the last 40 minutes. Go on, go on.
Yeah,
Huh.
so FM radio had just picked up. Chandni Sehgal was the head of stuff like that.
1993. That I'll
Yes,
get right because that I
but
was on. Yeah.
that is
So
your
we're in
on.
93 and 95. Fair enough. Yeah. Then.
Yeah. So we were
Hmm.
like, fuck, the world is conspiring, and ABCL had just opened up in those times where Amitabh Bachchan, our hero. See,
Yes.
Amitabh Bachchan comes into the
Yes.
story, has come for
Correct.
us. So we were like, fuck. So these two young brats wrote lots of concept. We wrote this time travel story, adventure, all that shit. Went to them with 26 episodes, and they entertained us for 9 months, and nothing happened. And those are days of pre-mobile phones. So you would sit next. He was in Vadala, I was in Goregaon. I'm still in Goregaon. He's now in Norway. He gave up in his dreams. He's
Wow.
married with two beautiful kids. He teaches English there. But
What a
anyway,
loser. Scandinavia पहुंच गया साला.
no, but
Huh.
he's happy and he's
Huh.
settled. So anyway,
Huh.
he wrote poems online. She fell in love with his poems and he got married. By the way, internet comes in handy. I'll tell you
There
how
you go.
internet came in handy for me also in my story in a minute.
Huh.
So yeah, coming back to the story, we would wait by our mobile, landline phone, waiting for it to ring. And then politely every weekend we would call, the lady in question there, and we waited, and finally said, you know what, it's not happening. Maybe we need to get some experience. So I applied to MTV, incidentally, and I wrote this interesting two-page, CV,
Biodata.
staying
CV. Huh.
biodata. Oh, biodata. Fuck yes, huh?
You used to use
Saying
the
that
word
once upon a
biodata. CV
time.
became a little upmarket afterwards. Huh. Bolo,
Yeah,
bolo.
I don't.
Sorry.
I never required it, but anyway. So it began with like once upon a time on the 24th day of the ninth month of 1974 was born a boy who would henceforth be known as Suparn Verma, and then the
Hmm.
fucking CV that fell into place. Anyway, I didn't get a job there, and finally,
Who did you
through
apply? Who did you talk to in MTV? Do you remember? The guy who
I think my
rejected you.
mother
Let's
must.
remember it.
I think Ravi Sundaram, I think was the guy there. No,
Oh, Ravi. But Ravi was a very nice guy. Why didn't he give you a job?
no, very nice guy. But I was a fucking fresher, fucking dick. No, I was like fucking 21-year-old jerk
He mustn't have
from
pushed
Adam.
it. He would have been.
Must
It
have
would have been
must push it,
possible.
huh? Anyway,
Oh, oh.
so luckily for me at that point of time, Rediff was just coming out. Like there was 8 people in the office when I joined. I'm the ninth employee of Rediff. I'm one of the founding members, and
Yeah.
we used to look for places to sit because there were only 6 chairs.
Was
And
Rahul
Gopal
Bose
House was
there?
the no. Rahul Bose never joined Rediff. He was Rediffusion.
The old agency. Okay.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
Rahul Bose also dissed me out when I went to interview him and I didn't return his photographs on time because those are days the photographs be scanned. And he complained to Ajit Balakrishnan about me. And since that day, I really, hold a grudge. I was a little 21-year-old fucking fool ki kachi gali and he fucked me over. But anyway, so fuck that
So you
shit.
refuse to
So
you
anyway,
refuse to cast him in future projects. You really mean that?
well,
Oh, if you want to really make him
no, but I really love
punish him,
him.
you should cast him.
Yeah, but I love him. I think English August
Yeah.
was one of the best
Yeah.
films ever made, including Dev Benigal. Anyway, coming back here,
He's a
and him
hilarious
masturbating
guy.
was a
But
great sight.
let's talk about you. Huh? Go on.
Yeah, he's super fun. Anyway, so yeah, so I was given a job in Rediff by Nikhil Lakshman, who you know by the way from
Yeah,
Sunday
of
Observer
course.
days.
Yeah,
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 he's my mentor and my friend and my editor.
yeah.
As a photo librarian, and I didn't know half the fucking cricketers. I know, I'm sorry. I didn't know half the politicians. I didn't know who the fuck, what kind of photo librarian I would make. So they made me a journalist, and I used to keep chatting on IRC those days. So they made me the head of chat, and that's how Rediff Chat came into being. So I set up Rediff Chat, Rediff Radio. I used to do movie reviews, and every KRA every year I used to write that I'll
Great
make a
child of
movie.
destiny. Whatever you try to do, which is basically wrong, becomes right. It's
Yeah,
really like
and
destiny's path. Huh.
now this is how internet comes in. So in the meantime, Vivek kind of used to write poems and put them online. And he met this girl in Norway, and they fell in love, and he fucking settled there. I, in the meantime, used to do Rediff Chat, right? So which was celebrity chats with people coming on Rediff Chat. One of the chats was with Manoj Bajpayee, which happened at Hansal's house. Now those were the days where you had TCP/IP accounts,
Hansal
right?
Mehta.
Chee,
Huh.
chee, chee, cha, cha, cha. Remember those routers,
Yeah.
dial-up accounts? So, and I used to carry this big, huge fucking computer to wear because those days were not a laptop days; they were fucking computer days.
Hard, huh?
So the chat happened at Hansal's house, and Manoj did the chat. He left, and Hansal and I kept chatting, and he used to read my reviews online. And he offered me a film. Would you like to write a film? I said, why the fuck not? At the same time in my life, I was interviewing Gopal Varma, and he was doing sound. He was doing the sound mix of a film called Dayam, which I looked at for the first 2 minutes, and that's Pet Symmetry. And he said, how the fuck do you know? So I showed him a press card. It had
Lifted.
Stephen King's photograph on it. So there were some
Oh.
moments, yeah, the story was lifted. Dayam story is Pet Symmetry. He's like, you look like Stephen King. I had hair those days.
Huh.
And he said, he offered me a film. So I wrote one draft of Sarkar. I wrote one draft of
What are you saying?
Bhoot.
Sarkar is yours?
And no. He had the idea.
Your first
I
draft?
just wrote a draft of it. One of the drafts. I'm sure other writers are writing it.
When
I
you,
wrote
when
the
you saw the
first
film,
draft of
how
Bhoot.
much of it is you?
Huh?
When you
I
saw
have
the
no
actual
idea.
movie? Ah,
Godfather.
चलो
Anyway,
सुपन मेरे
then
पास
I
मैं
wrote
वकील हूँ मैं खुद वकील हूँ I'll defend you.
very good. Very good.
हाँ.
Cyrus Vakil
Then
Brocha, Dr. Cyrus Brocha Vakil. Huh.
I see it doesn't give you
So,
any confidence.
not
Yeah,
at all.
go on.
I'm going to come to you for homeopathy, but anyway. Anyway, and I wrote a draft of Bhoot, the first draft of Bhoot, which was set in a building.
I love
And
that movie.
Bhoot is what I made. My version, my film is what I made as Atma much later on with Bipasha and Nawaz, by the way. That happened
Oh,
later.
I didn't see Atma.
Anyway, and
Note to
Ram
self,
Golona put
see
me in touch
Atma.
with, yeah, and Ram Golona put me in touch with Firoz Khan. So Firoz Khan offered me a film, which initially I said no to because I was like doing a job and Ramu had offered me 3 films and I was writing a film for Hansel and I was busy. But Firoz Khan Saab
Hey,
fell in love with me and I fell in love with him. And he would call
which
me every
Feroz
Sunday to
Khan?
his house.
The Kurbani, the
Khan
great
Saab
Feroz
was,
Khan?
yeah, Kurbani the great Firoz Khan who also acted in my debut film, Ek
No,
Lade Kasina with Pardeen.
you're going too fast. I love Feroz Khan. Tell me a little bit about his interacting with him. He's quite a
So
flamboyant.
and I'm this 20-year-old dick who meets him and tells him, sir, I can't write your film. And he was flabbergasted. Like, what? Nobody says no to Firoz Khan, right? And he called me every Sunday and he would cook Afghani chicken and we would talk about
Wow.
movies. He was a huge fan of Oscar Wilde. He would quote the Gita, the Quran, the works. One of the most learned, educated, polished man I've known in my life. And I
What
love
were they
him
doing in
to.
Bollywood?
Well, he also would narrate tales of his days as a hustler. He was a fool hustler. So he began
Really?
literally, he has worked his way up the ladder from being a pool hustler to playing bit parts to playing a villain to becoming a hero to directing some insanely awesome films to become producer. I mean, he is legend, and he lived his life on his own terms, completely openly. I mean, this is who I am. Take it or leave it or go fuck yourself. As simple as that. And he never minced words. And for all his stories around him, the most, I mean, he was the ultimate gentleman. As simple as that. I mean, he would woo men, women with that innate charm that he had was
Yeah.
amazing. Anyway, lots of stories.
No,
We
I
can do a
agree. I
whole
met him only
episode on
twice in my
Feroz
life,
Khan.
but I totally agree. I'm a huge fanboy of Mr. Feroz Khan. Please carry on.
Yeah.
Sorry,
So
I'm
every
stopping your
story I've
train.
heard about him is true. So don't worry about them. But
Yeah.
anyway, so
Uh, hmm,
so
hmm.
that happened. And anyway, in the meantime, Hansel was supposed to direct the debut of Abhay Deol, and we were trying to crack an idea. In the meantime, I had written a different script, and one night Hansel's ADs read that story, and that's how my first debut film happened, Chal, with KK and Prashant Narayanan about an undercover cop. And then Hansel was supposed to was signed by Harry Babeja, and that's how Abhay Deol was not happening that time, so the film didn't happen. So he because he had signed off to do Ahista Ahista, and that's how I ended up writing Ye Kya Ho Raha Hai, which is about a bunch of guys wanting to get laid, which was marketed as American Pie. And I had also pitched an idea about a nuclear bomb to Ram Gopal Varma, who had narrated it to Ajay Devgan. And Ajay narrated the idea to Harry Babeja. So Harry Babeja asked me to write the remake of The Rock, which is Ajay
Ah.
Devgan, Sunil Shetty, Kamat. But in the meantime,
Oh.
that idea stuck. And Ajay put me in touch with Rohit Shetty, and that's how I ended up writing Zameen, Rohit Shetty's debut film. Because the last story I covered as a journalist on Rediff was IC-814's Hijack. And incidentally, I wrote Zameen as a sequel to Sarfarosh because that time John Matthew Mathan was looking for a story. And he heard my first half and said, "You don't have a villain." So that's how the hijack happened. And then that's a different story. But in the meantime, Kayamat was shot by Sanjay F. Gupta, the DOP, and he heard an idea of mine. He took me to John Abraham to pitch a story idea which he wanted to do. And John said, "No, I'm looking to do action." And I narrated a different story to him. He loved that. And that's how Karam
Hmm.
happened, which is John and Priyanka, the Tinka Tinka song movie. And Feroz Khan's movie released that around that time. And yeah, so on and so forth. But then I decided I had enough of writing. So I became a director and I directed stuff. So I have found success. I have found fuckload of failure. And I have just kept rising again and again and again till I think life kind of got bored at beating me down.
And
And shit happened. And also Rediff connection. Sita Menon, who is Raj and DK's
oh, right,
writer since
the third
Flavor
wheel,
Days,
the third wheel.
third
Yeah,
wheel. So
yeah,
she the third charioteer actually. But
yeah.
anyway,
The third
she
tenor,
was
the other guy,
yeah, yeah.
Domingo
So she was
Pavarotti, and the other guy. Yeah,
yes. Who were the three fuckers? But anyway, forget that.
Carreras. Now that's one subject I
Pavarotti,
know better than you.
Domingo.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Pavarotti,
What
Domingo.
happened?
Finally, I win. Finally, bro. By the way, this
So
whole
she
podcast
was
has been
my
you alone.
colleague.
I could
Yeah.
have gone and just made chai and all that. You've just been talking aloud, thinking aloud, putting together the dots. Fabulous.
Next time we
This is the
have to
kind
do
of
this
guest we
together
need.
so we can have coffee.
No, no, no. We get a break. Otherwise, sometimes you have a guest, you have to go on probing and probing to get a one-word answer. This is the
Yeah.
absolute opposite.
So
Yeah,
Sita used to be a colleague of mine in Rediff, by the way. So
yeah,
when
yeah,
Raj
yeah.
and DK had their premiere of 99, I was there throwing
Hmm.
chawannis from the audience, and we had a party, after party, card party in because they love poker. We still play poker
Yeah.
every Saturday, Sunday night in Bandra in their house, which they're renting that time. And now DK and I are neighbors. We live in the same building, and our
Even
children are
during
growing up
pandemic,
together.
ladies and gentlemen, when social distancing was the norm, they played poker in the house together. 40, 50 of them, creative geniuses,
Online, online
online.
poker
Damn it. By the way,
with
Amit Doshi,
Zoom
who runs
online.
this who runs this flagship completely, is a poker mad, obsessed human being. So I'm sure
You
you
should
should.
make me join his group. I'd love
Yeah,
to
but
play
you
online
sound
poker.
like you guys are really good. I'm worried that Amit is not that good. Yeah.
No, no, we are not good either. We just play and win some money here and there. But anyway, so yeah, so
Huh.
that's how my career happened, and that's how I know Rajan DK to answer your question, Rajan DK. But yeah, anyway, now you
Yeah.
can talk. You're
Okay,
allowed to.
now we have to talk about Family Man, but I was thinking, what's the point? Everybody knows everything about Family Man. The only thing I want to ask you is, Family Man has really touched home, especially season one. I'm not saying season two wasn't good; it was good, and of course it touched home. But season one, everybody just it was like a fresh breath of fresh air. Firstly, I want to ask you a little bit about go, so whose idea was this whole idea about this? I think in a sense I feel a bit of Amitabh Bachchan in the sense that he's from the 80s growing up in the sense that but that would be a very glorified version. This is a very real version, of the guy who's struggling and
Family
all
man
his
is
internal
Amitabh Bachchan
struggles.
going to the market to buy bhaji.
That's what exactly. So I'm not wrong, huh? This is exactly what I thought. But you go ahead and tell us, where did it come from?
Rajan DK.
Okay. So Rajan DK came up with the
Anyway,
concept.
so Raj and DK came with the idea of Family Man and they started developing it. In fact, they were writing it in this house in Patliputra, which I kept dropping in every now and then. And they called
Wow.
me to see the first rough cut of Family Man and said that we want you to kind of write and direct season two with us. So I said, okay, then. And the editing kept on. We finished writing season two. We started shooting season two, and season one released and went on to be this mega hit. And we had finished our Chennai schedule, and then the family was a huge hit. Athar was a huge hit. Dhriti was a huge hit, and we realized that everybody wants to know what the fuck happened in Lonavala, which I don't know why because none of the business. But anyway, and we kind of re-examined certain things, tweaked, and just kept shooting. So, you would have this question about me coming on board for second season and no pressure. Forget pressure. There were no expectations when you began writing or shooting because we were writing with a completely free hand, and Amazon backed us to the hill because they were in love with season one because they had seen the
I think
initial cut.
also people don't understand one thing. It's one thing to have failure and deal with that, but to deal with success, that puts even more pressure on everybody. Sometimes when you think about it, it's probably worse dealing with a very successful project. But is it Indians or just world over where everybody is always worried कि वो second जो है, वो sequel जो है या prequel जो है, whatever, it should, you already sort of bad mouthing it and worried that it won't do well for some reason. This seems to be like the common.
So, Cyrus, I think the thing about success is success doesn't teach you anything. It just sets you up for more failure, basically. Because if
Fair
you have a
enough.
soul and
Yeah.
head or whatever. So, in a way, I'm glad whatever happened in my life happened at a late stage where I don't have hair and shit to gloat over. Where you just kind of carry on. The next day, literally the next day, morning, I had a narration with Anil Kapoor. No, sorry, that was after winning a Filmfare Award. Sorry, the next day after Family Man
साला,
release, what were you doing?
तूने खुद का तारीफ किया इसमें. You brought the ball
Ah,
back into play. Yes.
no,
Will
I'll
come to
tell
the
you about
Filmfare Award.
success.
Yeah.
Filmfare Award, I'll tell you what. The next, sorry, that happened day after. The next day after winning the Filmfare Award, the first thing that I did, woke up at 5 in the morning because you have to shit for an early morning shoot, right? So that's the biggest thing. You pray to God the shit comes. And then you go to the
Huh.
shoot. I'm in Worli village. And the first fucking shot that I take is literally prosthetic shit on which Ashish Vidyarthi's foot is supposed to step.
Aye, aye.
I can show it to you. So I have the shit
No,
shot.
please.
But anyway, so life
But if you
kind of
have
balances
his
out.
foot?
So yeah,
Huh.
I have his foot. I have everything. So anyway,
Show his foot. Can we
I
see it?
can
If
show you
it's
that.
handy.
Yeah.
Achha, on the
Let's
phone.
try and figure out. One
Poor
second.
Ashish Vidyarthi worked for the role, and he told him we don't need you. We just need your foot, which we've got. Yeah.
I think Netflix will fucking kill me for showing this shit. But anyway, wait. Let's see
Just
if
the
the
foot,
shot is
bro.
still
We were
there.
showing the scene. I'm saying
No, I'm
even a
not showing
photo
a
would be
scene.
great. Huh.
I'm just showing you a photo of the shit shot.
Yeah.
I'm trying to
Well,
find the
shit.
shit shot. We shall
Shit
find the
shot is not
shit
an
shot.
adjective; it's a noun. For people watching, it's a noun, not an adjective. It doesn't mean it's shit. It means it's a shot. Shit shot. No, sorry, it's an adjective. It's
Yeah,
not a noun. What is it? Suparn, you're the master. Explain.
I'm not the master of
Oh shit!
grammar.
I'll tell you what. Now that we are talking about shit and the show's gone there, let's take a quick break while you search for it. That'll give you 30 seconds more. What do you think? Fair enough?
Good. Shall I show you something interesting in the meantime?
Yeah, show me. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the point where he removes from his how to swear. I can't adjective, noun, verb. Now, this is the book of the future. This is the book for driving. If you're driving on the streets of Mumbai or Delhi, you need this book. This book will come in handy. Have you written this book?
No, it was gifted to me by Raj.
By Raj after working with DK. Story for another day. We'll take a quick break while he puts his book away and finds us the picture of the prosthetic foot. In the meantime, Silvery, can you come in? And I think we have a video to watch for a second here as we go into break. Let's find out. As Silvery may or may not make it in time. I'm just giving you a little time to find the foot. As Silvery, he's
Okay, I'm
coming.
finding the foot.
Do we have a video?
Yes, we have a video.
Okay, so that gives him half a minute to. Okay, here, off you go, Suparn. Find your video as we play our video.
Hey
I found
everybody,
it.
it's been another great week on the IVM Podcast Network. Episode 100! We've hit the 100th episode on Storytellers and Storytellers with Vineet Kanabar. Join us to take a look back at some of the best episodes so far. On Cyrus Says, Anushka Iyer, founder of Wiggles, tells Cyrus all about her pet care company. They chat about their mutual love for pets and how to best care from them. On The Habit Coach, Ashton learns 3 habits to better your handwriting from graphologist Imran Beg. On Fin Talks at Bob World, Akhil Handa talks to Gurjot Pal Singh. He's the CEO of Tide In. They discuss its digital banking services. In a new series called Ek Sawal Kai Jawab, the Pulyabazi hosts analyze why the number of government companies is increasing rapidly. Do follow us on social media. We're IVM Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And remember, if you're enjoying this show or any of our other shows for that matter, please do tell a friend. Also, don't forget to rate us on any of the platforms you're listening to us on. And you can also check us out on YouTube. You can have a list of all of our shows at ivmpodcast.com/YouTube. And finally, we'd like to thank our sponsors this week, Bank of Baroda and CoinSwitch Kuber.
Ashish Vidyarthi, by the way, one of the best actors in the country, no doubt about that, and he's been all over the place. This may be his finest work. Suparn is showing it to you. Yes, this is a prosthetic foot. He didn't even turn up for the shoot. Now that is acting, real acting.
Yeah.
And
But I also found a picture of a guy peeing, by the way, with some very important information.
Oh, okay. Oh.
Shall I read the
that's
information
nice.
to you?
Yes, please.
It's a free organic pathological test. Go to a tree and take a leak. If your pee attracts ants, you got diabetes. If it dries fast, your sodium is high. If it smells like meat, your cholesterol is high. If you forgot to unzip, it's Alzheimer. If you miss the tree, Parkinson's. If you peed on your shoes, enlarged prostate. If you can't smell it, COVID-19.
Wow. Super, bro. Sylvie, do us a favor. Humor Suparn and just go out and do it. Find the tree and come back and report to us in 5 minutes.
Oh, okay. I will right after this, because I was just watching Shark Tank India, and on this they had this amazing innovation. Some dude had come in with something called the pea shoot, okay, which is like this paper bag that you pee into. Basically, this is addressed to solve the problem of public urination, having to
and for the rich
public toilets even.
And for the rich and young, drinking and driving in the old days. You want to pee desperately. Where do we pee? Well, drunk so much and all that. Yeah.
Sure.
Comes in
So
actually,
actually, it's like a one-use bag.
And bring people
also
closer
it's
together.
helpful for
Someone has to
women.
hold. Huh? Sorry.
It's also helpful for women, especially women, right? Who
Absolutely
can't
women.
go,
Yeah.
like unload like men. Yeah.
Exactly.
No,
So
and in the
basically,
case of women,
you
you could be chivalrous enough to hold the bag for them. So in that sense, it'll bring people closer. Also, I feel.
No, you
Sorry,
pee
go
in
on.
the chute. So you pee in the chute, and it turns the pee solid.
Did you call me a shoot?
No. In the pea shoot, it's called the pea shoot.
Pea shoot.
Okay. So you pee in the pea shoot, and it turns the pee solid. And then you can just throw it away into like garbage. It has some like chemical or something which turns the pea like just literally like solid. It's
Then you can make pea
what an innovation,
statues. You can make carvings, pea carvings.
You could
use them like bricks.
reuse your pee. Yes. Yeah.
No, you should go on those things. What do they call those Ferris wheels? And you should throw it out from there onto people. Like how we used to
hit
spit
me
from
them in the
Ferris
head.
wheel.
It's not water anymore. It's
Did you
solid.
guys used to go on the Ferris wheel and spit on people below? We used to do that all the time. It was so much fun. What a free India it was. Yeah,
We should
really.
try this with Gaumutra and do Gau Holi.
In the right parts, the UP elections are coming up. I think your antecedents are from there. We can go right back and definitely try all the right, because you're right. There has to be a certain tradition. Yeah, no tradition involved in it as well. Okay, let's get back to your career, sir. You get sidetracked faster than me, which is very sad. Filmfare Award, kahan se aa gaya? In the which way you dilao that, and then we had to go on with the story. What was the Filmfare Award for?
Family Man se aa gaya. Director to Critics Award.
Right. And I have it here in front of me. I should have read it.
Yeah, or Screenplay Award mila. Yay!
How do you feel? Does it make you happy?
How do you feel? Fuck knows. I've been jacking off to it. Like, yeah, I've been having threesomes
I don't know.
with
There are two schools of thought, bro. One is the Filmfare. People were like, wow, it's a great thing, Filmfare, National Award if you win it. And some of people, it's rubbish and say it's a waste of time and whatever. So which school are you in?
जब नहीं मिलता तो rubbish waste of time है जब मिल जाता है तो वहाँ
सही जवाब. You go straight to round 2. You win 10,000 rupees. Let's not waste any more time.
अंतरिक्ष पैसे भेज मैं जीपे भेज रहा हूँ तेरे को. हाँ.
Yeah, Antariksh, you heard his story, na? He came to interview me many years ago.
Yeah.
I don't know why. And he came on the terrace, which is obviously true because I used to have a little gym there, which I put back up because of this.
But you would do interviews during working out, Cyrus? Was this a
There must
thing?
be a reason. There must be a reason.
Oh, okay.
I'm just curious. There was a massive bottle. Were you drinking vodka and working out, or were you fucking drinking water and working out?
But I was drinking vodka very much every night. So yeah, post the workout. Not during the workout, with a bottle of water. I think my German Shepherd must have been there, and maybe one or two other guys, not more.
There was one more guy with you. Huh?
Anup, a real beauty. Yeah, I can imagine what you went through. But why were you interviewing us for MTV?
Journalist, yeah. There was a new show launch हुआ था वो time पे. I'm not sure. Let me
must
check.
have been some reason.
I tried to
don't
Google
check.
you and me. Suparn
Was
Verma,
it Hello Friends? Were you there to interview
No,
for
No,
Hello
no,
Friends?
nobody interviewed us for Hello Friends. There was nobody. Not one person put their hand up. Yeah.
Okay.
I
There
Oh,
was
can't
a disclaimer.
remember.
Disclaimer from the government. That's what happened. Okay, don't worry about it. Don't Google this. Waste of time.
no
The
problem.
prosthetic foot is the highlight of the show. We can't go above that. Sylvie, is there
Yes.
any question you want to ask this great man? He's now
A very
working with.
important question. I have a very
Yes,
important
please. I'll
question.
go for it.
Please.
Suparn, you have been a lifelong fan of Tinkle, and
Yes.
nowadays, though,
I met Uncle Pai, by the way.
wow,
That was the
okay,
original owner, right?
yeah,
Or he was the editor or something.
correct,
But
that was the
his
original.
name
Yeah,
was
Anand Pai.
Anand Pai. Correct,
Correct,
correct.
yeah,
Yeah.
so cool.
There's also
If the
Target magazine, by the way.
Yes, of course. I remember Target
With the
magazine. I think I
Gardat
wrote one
Das.
article in Target magazine when I was in my teens. Yeah.
okay,
Go
so
on,
very
go on.
By the
important
way, you
question.
and I went to the same college, by the way, Cyrus. Sorry, Antarish, एक second, I keep
Oh, no
cutting you
problem.
off.
Yeah,
तो
yeah.
Xavier's का है ना?
That's fine.
To
Xavier's
JBS.
का बच्चा है
हाँ,
ना
मैं
तू?
भी JBS का हूँ. हाँ.
Eunice D'Souza का बच्चा हूँ मैं.
Eunice.
Tada!
Yes, Suparn. I want to
You
tell you
monkeys.
something.
You
You
are
guys.
monkeys.
No, I used to get under her skin. I was one of a few guys who got under her skin because I always took the side of America. She just hated American capitalism. If you wanted to,
Oh, but
filibustering, you have to just start a conversation about pro-America. Boom, and all
oh,
of
but
you
I have to
Americans
tell
have
you
given
my
us.
I have to
Huh.
tell you my Eunice D'Souza story before you ask me the question, Antarish. Sorry, but
No,
this
no,
is
no
epic.
problem.
Okay, so
Yeah, yeah.
I am Stephen King's huge fan, right? Stephen King's debut novel is Carrie. Okay,
Hmm.
so now I kind of. So by the way, you want to hear how I got into
Maybe
Xavier's?
let's set it up. Eunice D'Souza was head of department literature, a legend in South Bombay and in colleges and all in that time. And she was a very strong feminist and a very strong anti-capitalist, basically a leftist, but a very, very famous teacher. Yeah, now you tell the story.
Yeah, and also she loved Sylvia Plath. Anyway, so here's the
Yeah,
fun
so
part of how I
feminist.
got into Xavier's. Yeah, well, she was many things. She was among the greatest people I knew, but anyway, and greatest teacher. She made you think. She asked you, "What the fuck do you think?" Instead of giving us notes. No teacher asked me that in my entire life, but anyway. So I wanted to get into Xavier's my whole life, but my mother said Xavier's में अमीर बच्चे जाते हैं, drugs करते हैं, लौड़ा करते हैं, लहसुन करते हैं. She put me in Patkar College. I was there for 2 years. I had a heartbreak. I went to KC College. KC College. My best friend fell in love with a girl and said I'm leaving college. And I used to work part time in export firm in my SIBA. And I went and stood in line with him at Xavier's. He didn't get admission. I got admission. And how I got admission is the best part. So in KC, they would give us notes. And I think was drinking the prior night of the exam and learned only 4 answers in total of all
South
the
Bombay
notes.
education. You can't beat it.
Prayed to God.
Go on.
And I was working the previous night or whatever shit like that. Forget that. Anyway, I finished and I prayed to God that these questions come. 4 questions came out of the 5. I wrote those 4 questions in record time because I biated them. And I fell asleep with an hour to spare. And the professor Acharya came very benignly and said, "Are you done?" I said, "Yes. Can I give my paper and leave? I need to sleep because I have to go to office." And he said, "No, you can't leave so soon." And I said, "Okay." I went back to sleep. I got like 70 marks in literature. I barely passed in the rest. But because I had got that many marks in literature, whatever, it helped. And there, while standing in line, I was asked to meet Rohit Chopra, who was I think they were class helpers or something. Very sweet guy who looked at me and he saw my desperation in my eyes that I want to get into. He was a senior, he was a student who was passing out. And he said, "So what have you taught there?" And he threw stuff like naturalism and shit like that. And I'm like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" But anyway, and he said, "Have you read Dreiser?" I said, "No, Dreiser was not part of our course." He said, "Okay." So he said, "Fine, why don't you meet her?" But he said, "What do you read?" I said, "I read Stephen King, Asimov and stuff." He said, "Okay, just drop out Stephen King from the list. Add Sylvia Plath to the list. Asimov is fine, and don't mention Hadley Chase and Alistair MacLean and Desmond Bagley and all the pulp fiction that you read, Ludlam. They are not literature. So just mention these books and go to her." So I go to her. She meets me. Now the good part about literature is that very few boys, ratio of boys to girls was very skewed.
90
So
10,
there were only
90
2 boys.
10%. Yeah.
Yeah, right. So she looks at me and says, "Okay, we need some boys in the class. So have you done
तो
this? Have you
कोटा
done
पे आ
that?"
गया तू साला कोटा पे आ गया.
But Stephen King saved my ass here also. She
How?
said, "Have you read Carrie?" And my
Oh.
eyes fucking blew. I'm like, "Wait, Rohit just told me don't discuss Stephen
Not to
King."
mention.
And she's asking me, "Have you read Carrie?" And I go like, "I love Carrie. And I start talking eloquently about Carrie
The passion
and
came out.
how.
And she's like, haha, got you. You're not in now.
No, so the fun part came later, right? So I'm talking about Carrie and about telekinesis and how, it's about a women's repression and a girl coming out of it and how, religion mixes within her. And she's giving me the most bizarre look and she says, which Carrie have you read? So I'm like, this is Stephen King Carrie. She said, no, I meant Sister Carrie by Theodore Dreiser. My face fucking went white. I'm like, what the
Third
fuck?
umpire, LBW.
So
Then-
I look at her.
But she saw your
But
passion for the other Carrie.
Yeah, but she understood that this fucker can read and he understands books and
Passion,
themes.
bro. Most important thing
So
in the world.
she gave me a list of 30 books and said, read this in a week and come back. And if you do, you'll get admission. So I read 15 of the books and fuck the rest 15. But anyway, I got admission. And funny part is the girl that my best friend left college for,
Fell in love with you.
she's now my wife. She's my wife.
No! You
Wow.
Vishwasghat! You stab this man, stab this evil man. This is a Stephen King novel in its own right. What a sad story. God.
Now,
I don't know. This is
come. Your question.
wow. What a story
Okay.
this is, brother. Ouch. Oof.
Yeah,
So,
you can
so
find
how are you
connections
and
to
him?
everything in life.
Hey, Suparn, how are you and him?
Oh, we are still, Abhishek and I are still friends.
Did he come for the wedding?
No, I didn't call him for the wedding and he didn't call me for mine, but we met up for a drink recently. He came home sometime back. He has 2 kids, I have 1. His daughters are
Water.
16 plus, mine is 6.
As
But
Shashi
Bacha
told
hai ji.
Amitabh in Diwar, it is all water under the bridge. Leave it now.
All
Leave
water
it.
on the bridge, yeah.
Yeah.
Chalo.
Yeah.
Okay, beta.
Right.
You were trying to
Sure.
ask a question.
You know, I was
This
gonna-
guy is so. Never call him again. I mean, every time you ask him, then he goes for 15 minutes into a lecture about 200 other things. So, streams of consciousness beyond control, we have to get rein him in for the last 5 minutes. Come on,
Okay.
follow.
Quickly, just I wanted to ask, since you are a writer yourself and you've been a lifelong Tinkle fan, if all the characters of Tinkle were to have a fight, all the main characters of Tinkle were to have
Who
a
would
fight,
win?
who do you think would come out on top? Yeah.
This is the kind of intelligent question we expected. Thank you.
Because
Super-
he is
super
my
talented.
name, because he's my namesake, and I've been fucking made fun of my whole life, or partly, is Supandi.
But Supandi is a little like not an intelligent character, I would say. You
Yeah,
think he would
and
win?
also
Which is why
in a
he'll
fight?
win. Which is why he'll win. We survive. We are cockroaches. So go fuck yourself,
Okay.
Antriksh.
And also destiny bhi ek cheez hai na.
You call my
Sometimes-
namesake. You call my namesake not intelligent.
I
Yeah.
mean, I don't want to say dumb, but yeah.
Team Supandi,
Well,
Shawik has already sent his
but Tinkle
support, solidarity.
comics worked literally
Yeah,
on the concept
absolutely.
of dumb. Shikari Shambhu
true.
was dumb.
Yep.
There was no smart guy. There's no Birbal in Tinkle.
But Shikari Sabu had a gun. I would think like if someone could win,
You know how many dumb people have guns? This is
That's
by
true.
correlation.
That's true.
Supandi also has a gun. He plays table tennis with it. So relax.
He's answered the
Oh,
question, bro.
oh.
We can't
Oh, okay.
alter his
Yeah.
answer now.
Yeah,
This is fair
correct,
enough.
correct,
Yeah.
absolutely, yeah.
And he has lived and died with a sword of Supandi. That's been his mascot or talisman or whatever you want to call it. Avatar,
Yeah.
let's call it. Other avatar. Do people still
Sure.
call you that? I mean, now it's a generation that's
No,
gone.
now
right?
they call me Suparn Man like you did, or I call myself
Nice.
Super Pawn because it's easy to understand my
Yeah.
name. Suparn,
Yeah.
Supawn, Super Pawn. So
Yeah.
yeah, call me whatever.
just feel-
I don't care. What's in a name?
Your mother's story is fabulous. You know, I'm just thinking she puts you in a dress and things because in Hindi also sometimes you hold back the last words. So Suparna and Suparna becomes Suparna, and so I'm just thinking maybe that
So
was
you
the
want to come
dream.
to the story of my name?
Yes, and please tell me it's
Harivansh Rai-
Suparna with the A taken out.
Amitabh Bachchan is involved.
Oh, I gotta hear it.
Harivansh Rai Bachchan was very close to my father, and he
What
named
are
me
you saying?
Sopan.
बहुत name dropping करते हैं आजकल हाँ? Huh.
Yeah, so he named me Sopan, and my mother said I've given birth to him, so I'll call him Suparn, which is a derivative of Sopan. So Su is Sundar, Pern is leaf, Suparn is beautiful leaf.
But
Is also
why
a name
did
for
she change-
Garud, which is Vishnu, because she's a woman
But
who
what-
changes the name from Sudarsha to Nirja, so she can do anything.
No, but what is
She
the
My
became-
reason
mother's
why
name
she
is
wa-
Nirja, by the way. My mother's name is Nirja.
There,
Oh my
it's
God,
all,
what's
it's
happening
all,
here?
Yeah.
It's all
like
clashing
all-
like
crazy.
Stephen fucking King all together. You know, it's just horrific magic and all at the same time. Oh
Yeah.
my God,
I'm
this is
Bruce
too much.
Wayne, and you are Clark Kent, my friend. We have Martha.
I'm
Common
Sylvia
universe.
Plath, and I hate all men. That's it for me. Okay, let's go to the AMAs. I'm sure we've got plenty. He's already got so many
As
people
long
writing.
as long as you don't do Robin Williams and commit suicide, it's all good. So yeah,
Such a sad story, brother. Why do you bring that
I
up?
love
man?
him. I love him.
Yeah.
I love
Robin
him. I
Williams,
love
yeah.
him. I love him so much.
Really sad. But bro, Give me a question. Hit us with questions.
Yes. The first one comes in from Artik Shetty. He says, "Hey Suparn, I've known you from your Rediff days. Loved your articles.
Oh.
My question is, your favorite movie you reviewed when you were at Rediff?"
That's a damn tough question.
Hum
Would you have
Dil
a
Dil Choke
favorite
Sanam.
Oh, really? Wow.
And
Yeah.
why?
Yeah, it's a good movie. Yeah. Great.
It
From
was
our pregnant
magical. To
pause?
see
Huh.
it was so fucking beautiful to watch it unfold on the screen for the first time. It was I mean, and when it came at that time, before it became it became a template look for Bansali
Uh,
and coming off Kamoshi, which was again a beautiful film. It was very nicely done. The way music and images, it was
Yep.
married. Ajay Devgan was restrained. Salman Khan, Ajay was always restrained. Salman was restrained. Aishwarya looked beautiful as hell. Her introduction scene where she's playing the chippy thing, and the camera
Yeah.
just rotating around in that desert area. It was fucking stunning. It's one of the most. It was beautiful, and the best
I
part
think
is I had gone for a special screening where there were only like 6 people in the preview hall. So it was this huge fucking ad lab screen, 4 people sitting there, early morning show. It was one of the magical days. So yeah, for me that movie is
But
beautiful.
sorry, Siruri, you were asking something?
no. I'm saying the song "Aankhon Ki Gustakiyan" is just so well picturized. The entire song, they do
Yeah.
not speak. It's just "Aankhon Aankhon Mein," and it is so amazing, man. I
And the
recently
funny
watched
part
it.
is, And the funny part is, I went there as a reviewer with my colleague Sharmila Telukulam, and she ended up writing the review. I didn't write the review, but I went as a
Oh, wow.
reviewer, and for me, that's one of those special films. Anyway,
Worst film?
And do you know
Or
the
would you
worst?
remember?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know the worst?
Would you have a? I mean,
Worst
it's again tough to recall.
Yeah,
Yeah.
worst film.
If whatever comes to your head, obviously you'll write
yeah,
later
but I will
that
not
was
name it.
But then
I mean,
how
but you
will we
already
know
reviewed it.
what kind of answer is that, bro?
Yeah.
You're not getting into literature
Yeah,
class because of
because
this.
now I will not
Ask you a
shit on my
straight
own
question.
kind. Now I will not shit on my own kind.
Is it a big name or smaller name?
Well, he unfortunately never made movies after that.
Oh shit.
Oh, wow.
Okay. Leave it then. Maybe it's got a tragic ending.
Yeah,
We've got too much Stephen King going around. Let's move on.
Okay.
yeah,
Next.
exactly.
All right. Girish Patil has a very sweet comment. He says, "Family Man season 2 is one of the best Indian shows on OTT. The great thing about the show is Tamil characters were talking between them in Tamil and not in Hindi in a Tamil accent. So
It's
that
a
was a
huge,
deliberate choice, obviously.
Yeah, very much
Yeah,
so.
absolutely.
it's
Right
a
from the
huge
scripting
issue.
stage.
Yeah. With me, even in English films, a huge issue. I don't understand why the German guy has to speak English with a German accent, the Japanese guy. I mean, when will that ever stop? That's actually quite
Black Widow.
infantile when you think about it. Huh? Black Widow?
Russian family talking in English with a Russian accent. You think I will do that? No, I will kill you. No, we are a
And then
family.
And then Hello, the famous serial, I don't know if you've seen that comedy show. They actually do the thing where everybody speaks in English, and then you turn, if you're speaking French, you have a French accent in English,
Accent,
and then the English guy
yes.
can't understand you. Hello, what is your name? I'm sorry, sir, I don't know what you're saying. Which is a real parody of
But
this
it was
whole idea.
but it was so
Lovely.
brilliantly done. I mean,
I
I
loved it,
love
yeah.
Hello Hello.
I love it.
In fact,
Yeah.
I just finished seeing the show once again about a year or two ago in the pandemic itself. So
Yeah.
I love Hello Hello, including I think there is 40 Towers, which is that
Oh, I love
which is that department show, which
donkeys.
is a department show.
Oh yeah, the selling the store, Who's the
Yeah,
big
yeah,
store,
yeah, yeah,
minding the store, or something. Yeah. That's also
yeah,
great. Yeah. With Eddie Izzard, huh?
yeah.
One of
Have you
these.
been served or something? No, I'm not sure what is
Are
it
you being
called.
served? Are
I've
you
been
being served?
served. I've been served. Yeah, yeah.
Silvery. These are,
Okay.
I think, 80s
I don't know
shows.
this. Yeah.
Might be
70s,
Daddy
80s.
Mummy.
Yeah, yeah.
Call Daddy Mummy for
Shot on
talking.
VHS tapes.
Replace yourself with your father
Okay.
quickly, so we can continue the
But
conversation.
one show I
Uh,
really wish we could find somewhere is Old Fox, Der Alt,
Oh, the
the German
Alte
show.
German. Wow,
Yeah,
man, we have too much in common, bro. Except that you went on to become a creative person, and I'm here, stuck in a lawyer's office
you're a
without a
creative
degree.
genius. You are an
Yeah.
inspiration, Cyrus.
Well, he mentioned the CHUTE. I think I'll go with that. Yeah. Can't even spell that correctly. Can you
Down
imagine?
in the chute or the down the chute? Which one are you talking about? So,
Let's say the one that begins with Mother,
oh,
the famous.
Okay.
Chalo, Nax.
So what are the odds that Cyrus would call
so
himself
why
that?
are
And the
you
next
not
question
abusing
is
and why
from
am I abusing, by the way? Question.
I don't know,
Just
but
curious.
listen to this.
the
He
next
says
question
the-
is from Cyrus, basically. Chooth, sorry.
Yeah.
No, sorry, it's not a joke.
But it's
what is-
one sec. Let Suparn take this because it's spelled with a Y, huh? तो उसका
Yeah.
और कुछ pronunciation होगा शायद.
Yeah, that's what-
I don't even go for it. What do you feel? He's a Hindi pandit. Maybe he can twist it correctly. I'm not sure.
there's no saving this.
Yeah, it's a tough one.
Achut's question is
We're like
What is
children.
He says, what is a good starting point for wannabe writers and directors? Any suggestions in terms of literature which helped you personally?
It's a simple trick I would advise, and I'll tell you a story about it. I want to get into
Oh,
British School
15
of Art.
minutes. Go on, go
We
on, go
have
on, go on.
5, so I'll give you the story in 2 minutes. I want to go to film
Yeah.
school all my life, and I kept trying. Finally, got through Tisch School of Arts in New York. The fees there was fucking enough to make a film, which was the budget of my first debut film as a writer. In any case,
Oh.
so I could not
Yeah.
go. But here's the fun part, and with the internet, it's very easy now. A trick which I did, which really helped me a lot, is read screenplays. So read a screenplay of a movie, watch the film, watch a film, read a screenplay, and do that exercise multiple times for different films. So you'll
But see,
understand what
sorry to
writing
interrupt.
is and how it translates on screen, or
Just
see
again,
it and read it.
Professor जी, एक प्रश्न. You first watch the film, read the screenplay, and then you reverse it. You read the screenplay and watch the film.
You can do the way
I
I
say you
would
can
do
do
it is
either or
because
you do both. I'm just clarify
do
for the
both,
idiots.
but do both of different films of the
अच्छा
same
अच्छा.
film.
So either
Repeat,
way,
rinse,
with
repeat.
one film,
Yeah,
either way. Okay, समझ गया. So sorry. So I thought it's some double issue here. Let's say we take Rocky
you
1, the film. You read the screenplay, because I remember when I was in acting school, don't laugh, they made us read Rocky 1 is one of the greatest screenplays ever written. And truly it was a
it
fantastic
is.
screenplay when I read
Yeah,
it. Sylvie, you think, Stallone, this, that, and the other, and it's very cliche, like a Hindi film and all thing,
he's a
and
good
it is
writer.
to some extent. No, but it's a lovely story, yeah. It's a lovely story. He's this real struggler. So it hits home to all cultures and all, with the sense of being a struggler and nothing going for you, and then just the boxing saving him in a way. Anyway, my point is, so you read it and then you watch the film, or you watch the film and then you read it. Either way,
Either way, and
I
sometimes do repeat both. Rinse, repeat. Action. So basically, read, watch the film, read again.
I saw this porno film called Pizza Delivery Boy, and unfortunately they couldn't find the apparently there is no official broadsheet of the screenplay.
You
There's a
should
lot
have
of
looked at the
ad
making
lib.
of.
वो भी नहीं है बेटा, वो making of ही है. I think it's so badly made. It's
So
the
if you
making
want
of
to
is the
if you
film.
want to make a porn film, I can tell you the making right now with sound effects.
बोलो, सुनो.
That's Foley work. That's great Foley work, man. Nice.
Sylvie put a disclaimer out. Please do apologize to, I don't know, occasionally we offend people. I mean, I don't even know anymore. I have no idea where to start. Really? I mean, this is
Wow,
a guy,
had
he's a
that.
filmfare, he's top of the tree. He's at top of the
Yeah.
business, filmfare award winner. He's across all mediums. He's at the height of his career. And yet he's like a 9-year-old. That's amazing. That's fantastic.
But you know that Adrian Lin, by the way, who made 9.5 weeks.
Yeah. This is that
And he also made Indecent Proposal. by the way.
Mickey Rourke film, no?
Yeah, he also made Indecent
Yeah.
Proposal with Robert
Oh.
Redford and stuff. And
I
all the
like that
shots in it
proposal.
are composed like Cartier-Bresson shots. So I mean, and Tinto
Hey.
Brass is one of the most celebrated soft porn filmmakers. You put story in porn, it becomes art, right?
There you go. Yeah, Sanjay Leela Bansali you mentioned. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. But in Savaria, the towel came off, so I was a little worried about that, yaar. Gabar gaya beech mein. But it's all good. Let's take in one or two more, unless he has
Yes,
to run
please.
quickly.
Next one comes from Aditya Sharda.
Oh.
He says, in Family Man season 2, I noticed that you ditched the usual stereotypes of the regional characters and rather focused on the local nuance. Was there a
Ask
process
this
behind
question.
this detailing?
But this is you now.
So two things. One, so Raj and DK are from Andhra. Suman, again has a regional background. We were all cognizant. We had a room which one wanted to which is the reason at times I would get into interesting debates with Suman and use those lines as dialogues where I would, say that, oh, I love South Indian food, idli dosa. And Suman would just look at me with a disdainful look and say,
That's
there are
Udupi.
5 different cuisines in South India. Which South India do you mean? And I would say, thank you, Suman. And I read the dialogue of the character.
Quickly, you
because
made it
that's how
5, huh?
the two would
Telangana
respond.
and Andhra are separate. Those people who don't know make the mistake. Very smart thinking. Very good.
Yeah, because I mean, Tamil, Malayalam, Kannada, I mean, they're all different languages and regions. We as India, unfortunately, as when you're from the Hindi belt or say Bombay, you tend to
By the
club
way,
all of South as one
Andhra,
bunch, all of Northeast as one bunch, which is ridiculous, right?
correct. And South Bombay is one bunch of spoiled rich.
South Bombay is different India altogether.
It's England.
It's England.
It's
So my
Bristol.
in-laws,
Yeah.
my wife's uncles live in a house in Kolaba, they, after Worli, the border of Bombay is over.
Correct.
So they
Correct.
have come to my house
That's
in my 18 years of marriage 3 times.
you're
Like
lucky
kids coming
guy.
to America. Yeah.
And you're the family man. Ding ding. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, but we must compliment you on that. I think there's one of the guys who's pioneering this whole thing about making. And you mentioned naturalism right in the beginning when someone tried to put it, Rohit, somebody tried to put it down your throat. But I think that's what people have really enjoyed in the Family Man and the OTT shows that are coming out, in the sense that it's becoming more and more realistic, and the portrayal is more and more acceptable. And exactly what you're saying, South India is of different cultures and languages and types. It's not just one type. But anyway, that's gone now. Only an idiot is going to say that.
No.
Only
Also,
Kunal
I
does
think
one
somewhere the
accent for all
character.
5 states. Huh.
Yeah, and also characters. When you create these characters, right? You're trying to make broken or you show the faults of those characters. You kind of don't want to show them as gods. They have warts. They have pimples. They make mistakes. They are not perfect. None of them are, and that's what
So basically,
attracts you to them.
I'll explain. I'll explain to the bacha. Silvery, basically, they're like me. Huh? They've got a lot of faults, but they're gods. Just put it down.
Okay,
Write it
got it,
down.
got it.
Read it back
To
to
that
me.
point,
Read it
Cyrus. To that point,
back.
Cyrus.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
next question comes in from Kumar Gaurav. He says, "Hi Cyrus, not an
Wow.
AMA, but just wanted to
But
praise
is he
you
the
for your
Kumar
sense
Gaurav?
of humor."
Love in Singapore. Love in
I
Love
don't know.
Star.
I don't.
Star.
Love story. Star
Love
and Love
Story.
Story.
I
Love
don't
Story was
think so.
debut film.
Star. Yeah. Love
Okay,
Story.
I don't think so.
Watch.
But
Come
Kumar
on,
Gaurav
50
says,
now. 50 batting. It all comes back slowly. What does
yeah,
Kumar Gaurav say?
yeah. He says, "Hi Cyrus, not an AMA, but just wanted to praise you for your sense of humor, and I am sure you will not graciously accept it and make fun of me."
We've
So,
already made fun of the
go
name
ahead.
because we're not sure if
Yes,
he
so
was
you
the guy
already
who was
did. Yeah.
launched in Love Story or
I think
Star.
Cyrus, you can create this new concept of an insult restaurant and be the head guy. People just come there to be insulted by you.
No,
Like that waiter who does this, you come and
yeah,
just pepper
yeah,
insults on people.
correct. But Suparn, I was just tell me whether I'm wrong about this. So I was doing an event last week in outside. I shouldn't say, we shouldn't be traveling at this time. And one of the gentlemen on stage, his name is Kishore Kumar. Okay, and I'm like, how can you not react? So my question was, look, I just want to know one thing. He was fairly in his 40s, like early 40s. I said, I just want to know one thing. Is it possible that they obviously named you, your surname is Kumar, so they obviously named you Kishore because you're going to live with that for the rest of your life, right? In most parts of India, that stamp is there, and you go to every cocktail party, every stranger, every joker. It's a bit of a headache, I would think. So I just asked him that question, and he said, "Yeah." And I was just thinking, why don't parents think it through? As great as people are, if you have a
So
superb,
I
iconic
had
first name and
this
surname,
whole thing in my head planned out of doing one stand-up act in my entire life, which was naming kids with the idea of one day they're gonna have sex and somebody's gonna call
yeah,
out their name.
Name.
yeah.
Okay.
So just imagine, like having a bizarre name and the person being called out, which now for politically correct reasons I can't name, but there
Please
are
do
names.
one. Do
No, I
one.
can't. Not one.
Do
No, Ray, I can't.
Manmohan Desai ke jaisa karo na. Amar Akbar Anthony. Do 3 names, 4 names. Take 4
Give
religions.
me a no, 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 छोड़ दे अभी. But we shall do that session. But just imagine being called out, like I wanted to be called James Bond for the longest of time because James sounds so nice. Oh,
Hmm.
James, as compared to
But what if the girl you're dating is more
Suparn.
like or jams or jams? You get what you get. Yeah, you shouldn't be so touchy about these things.
I wouldn't date a girl who would call James Jams. No, I mean like कुछ तो taste के लिए दो मतलब.
When you reach my age, you don't ask them what they talk about as long as they're willing to date. Okay, don't. You're
No
really
wonder
not
you're
thinking
down the
correctly.
chute. No wonder you're
I'm
down the
down
chute.
the chute, all the way down. No looking up. To quote
Okay.
the Bollywood, whatever Hollywood film.
Yep.
Shall we take one
So
last
one,
one?
one more, yeah, one last one.
Yeah.
Comes in from Shavik Bakchi. He says, Suparn, did your dentist, watchman, driver, or traffic cops, or anybody you don't know ask you what will happen in the next season?
Yeah, that's a great
And
question.
also, yeah, what will happen in the
My
next season? Please let us know.
my dentist is on my Instagram, and I've shiny teeth because of
Hey,
her.
watch.
Her incidentally,
Watchman
her
is
last name is Doctor, so she's Ekta Doctor. So Ekta Doctor,
what?
like fuck,
My
how amazing is it, right?
Dr. Ekta
my
Doctor.
mechanic,
Oh,
his surname is Doctor. It's damn confusing. He's a mechanic, but he's a doctor. It's superb. I love this.
So
See,
yeah,
stay with your stand-up on names. You take it beyond sex. We'll have lots of different
imagine,
things.
imagine going on a flight and you're a doctor but a non-doctor, and someone asks, "Hey,
Yeah.
is there a doctor on
Is there a
board?"
doctor?
And you're like,
Yes,
"Ah,
I'm
"What
a
do I
doctor,
do?"
but I'm
I'm
a
a doctor.
ballroom dancing teacher. But my name is
Yeah,
Doctor.
yeah.
Yeah.
I
Sorry,
tried to
let me finish.
bottle my farts, and I'm having a heart attack. So now, of course, doctor who's not a doctor has to kind of take care of that. But anyway, you heard the story, right? Of that model who's bottling her farts and selling them, and she thought she had a heart attack because she ate too many beans.
Oh God.
I don't know.
What are
this.
you reading? What happened to Stephen
What?
Hawking? This is much
It
worse.
was headline
Oh,
news.
this is
It was
Family Man
headline
season
news.
3.
Was it,
Oh,
Gary?
nice.
I'm more
Family
worried
Man
about
season
the poor guy who's an 80-year-old man who's had 11 or 12 shots of the vaccine and is saying now he'll kill himself if they arrest him. And I'm thinking, but you'll anyway kill yourself, just do 1 or 2 more. Sorry, you shouldn't say that. He's an old man. He's an old man. But just to finish the question, driver traffic cops, when strangers know who you are, vendors or maybe regular vendors who know who you are in the sense of creating all these shows and all that, they will be asking you questions. What do you say? What do you say to them? But I
If
mean,
I
your
told you,
audience
I'll
is
have
so
to kill you.
varied. But I remember when we were doing Bakra, I used to get a Dobi kid used to come and he used to always tell me, first he used to ask me, is it Sahi hai or Nakli? Then he would tell me which one is Sahi and which is Nakli. And I'm like, fuck you. And he was 12. But he was insistent, ye to Nakli hoga. And he was explaining why and all. I said, but what the hell? If you see how low budget and crappy our shoots are, it's not possible to be Nakli. They're all crap. Just some work, some don't. Yeah. Well, that's a fun thing, I guess, when that happens.
It's a part. It
Shobik,
goes with the part of the job, right? Yeah.
there you go. Yeah. This has been brilliant talking to you, brother. Unfortunately, you talk so much, I can't even remember what you said. But what a great career it's been. And I think it's only halfway through. Second innings is just about to start. So picture Abhi bhi baki hai, as the stupid cliche goes. Any last thing you want to talk about? There's also 3, right? Family Man 3.
3, yeah, 3, 4, 5, 6.
But the government has said family planning should be hum do hamare do, तीसरा किसी और को दे दो. So the third should not be allowed by law.
No, after COVID, with so many people dying, unfortunately, I think maybe they'll
You're
allow
like the
more.
Parsis. Geo Parsi, bring more, bring more, bring more. No, bro, it's been we've been making a lot of fun and you've been kind of be really funny, but what a super successful man you are and how badly you dress and present yourself, which I love. Honestly, I
I
hope that
know.
continues.
You call me at fucking 10 in the morning. You expect me to dress up. Fuck you, Cyrus.
The right answer is,
I shave my head for you.
the right answer is
I brush my
if
teeth.
Priyanka Chopra was interviewing me, I would dress up. It's like that. That would be the better answer. But let it be. Chalo. Ho gaya.
Next time I'll WhatsApp my friend Cyrus Brocha and get the right answers and answer you with the smart answers. Yeah. So.
Wow, won't
But I
let me
just
go
want to
now
abuse
also,
you and
pencil.
say,
Abhi bhi laat maarte sala. What is this? All we've
Yeah.
done is praise this great man. Chalo. All right,
yeah.
guys.
but
Watch the episode.
anyway, lovely talking to you, Cyrus. Thank you, Antriksh.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Bye bye.
Bye bye. Ciao.